potentials.
Now, do you think that Nigeria's data collection is ineffective, and how will it help in solving cases like flooding and other cases?
Sometimes it's not just about the data, but it's what you make of the data.
Yeah.
And when you don't have anything to do with the data, because in the first place, we are a country that makes budget without data. So we make allocations without any recourse to our population, because certain communities. Now, I have the privilege of advising some public relation officers of a particular government organization, and what we keep telling them is that, okay, see, this business of public relation is not just issuing information. Issue intelligent information. When the government is building a school, tell us why the government is building the school in that community. When it is primary school, tell us why. Because the population, they have a larger population of kids that are of primary school age. So the government is starting with primary school because, yes, very few people are at the age of going to secondary school. So their parents have to make do by taking them to secondary schools elsewhere. But the major problem is those who are of the age of primary education. That's why we are building it. So in the next 6 years, after which we think most of them, if you are 6, it is expected that by you are supposed to start primary school,
secondary school,
primary school at 6.
Yeah.
So the assumption is that after 6 years, even the person who is starting from primary 1 must have graduated. So by that time, the government has already finalized preparation to build a secondary school. So by that time, the government has already mapped out a plan. Okay, the parents of these young people, what are their occupations? Okay, probably some of them are going to tertiary education and so on. So you make it a deliberate policy. Some of them are teachers. How do we recruit these people and then help them teach their own children?
Yeah.
So that's the importance of data. And I keep telling them, when you are giving this information, don't tell us that the government has built a school there. What is the purpose of building the school there? When in fact, most probably these people need, what these people need is a primary healthcare center. If government gives you permission to go and start a private school, then what is the availability? What provision has the government made of public schools? Government says, see, we have government schools already there. When you take private schools, what are you going to offer? A specialized form of education that is not catered for by our own government schools. Only on that basis should government allow you to do that. Otherwise, take your schools to areas where you know that they're in demand. But you go to communities that are absolutely
sufficient,
where schools are sufficient, or people of those communities are people who are low income earners, and you take private schools there. When they are, so you already create a social schism. Children going to private schools because private schools have a way of doing PR for themselves, that they are better schools and so on. So that's why you see them committing the greatest crime of exam malpractice, so that their students pass with
good grades,
and so on, fake good grades that they can indefensible. So now, the young children grow in those communities. Once they are in private school, they feel that they are educated. They are already educated, and they come from a richer background. So, and you are creating this dichotomy in the society. So government must look at all this. It is like social engineering, and government has a lot of business in that. But societies are just developing on their own. So we don't have data, and the issue is the case is that we are not interested in that. And we now that we start collecting data in the form of NIMC, the National
Identity
Identity
Management
Number, and
Commission.
so these things, because we are not also properly educated on why we need these things. Ordinarily, that should have been enough a data for us, because you log in your age, your level of education, your location,
Occupation.
your occupation, all these things. So ordinarily, that body should provide the government with the data, or it should be able to have a statistics of Nigerian children age so and so, school children age so and so. But the problem is that people are not educated as to why they need to do these things. And sometimes people think that okay, the government is using it for surveillance, so that government can track and so on. But then again, it has very little to. When will the government even sit down
To track
a data of 200 million people? And okay, this guy is making calls. What is he saying? The only time government does that on you is when government finds you to be a person of interest. That's when government monitors you. Otherwise, it's not like when you speak people. And this is what. So now people are not educated. So you will see someone say, okay, I want to open a bank account, so I need NIN. Let me just go and register. So what is your name? Muhammad. Your surname Muhammad. Your last name Mo. So so date of birth. Okay. Okay. What is the year now? 2022. Okay. When I subtract 18 is 2004, right? Okay, 2004. Right. So my date of birth is 2004. And then which community do you come from? Which okay, I'm in Maiduguri, and put Maiduguri. So the data is dirty. The data is almost largely not helpful. So cleaning up the data is also, but then we must begin to make government decisions on the basis of clearly defined data, information, intelligence.
Well, what about you? What do you have for us on
Well,
this
I think
case of data?
the editor exhausted almost everything, and it is a reality that is our communities are growing on themselves, like he mentioned. And this issue of, I think, urbanizing of local communities to a larger extent has touched almost every aspect of our life. Take education, for instance. Sometimes it's not about having lack of schools, it is about having qualified teachers. You cannot have a qualified teacher who has been raised in the urban center to say, okay, go and teach in
the rural
area where there is no hospital, no facilities he needed. So I think urbanizing local communities is very important. And if we manage it properly, it will touch every part of aspect of our life, economically, even politically, and so forth. Yes.
All right, thank you very much. So what should the government do to save lives and properties of people?
Evacuate them. Simple. Evacuate the people in communities that are vulnerable. Take them out. Take them to IDP camps. At least they will stay there forever. After 1 month, they will be. Yes. At least you only provide the space for them. They will still go to their markets and carry out. You don't have the business of feeding them. Let them just go have. Most of the people have relatives in the community. The few who do not have relatives, the government. In Maiduguri, we have experience of setting up IDP camps overnight. So
Absolutely.
it's not
It
a
is
big
already
problem.
existing.
So therefore, evacuate the people. That's the only way we can save lives. As for properties, I don't know, but we are still better off if we will lose a whole community than to say that we lose the lives of the people in the country. So let us save their lives. That's a priority for me. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. I think I've exhausted what I have for us today. Thank you very much to our listeners. Care to catch us next on Thursday to discuss more of this issue and anything which is of concern to the Nigerian citizens. Have a great day.